Choice Podcast Awards voting is up on the 31st of July, so go to podcastawards.com to nominate the following shows. Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast in the categories of education and also storyteller drama. The Centralist in the category of politics and news. That's with show host Joe Montaldo. Science and Beyond in the category of science and medicine, also with show host Joe Montaldo. The Outer Realm in the category of society culture with show hosts Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. And the Pittsburgh Paranormal Chasing Prophecy in the category of religion and spirituality. There's another category that opened up for us recently, the People's Choice, so please select for this category as well. Go to podcastawards.com to vote for these 5 shows and any others you enjoy listening to. That's podcastawards.com. And remember, voting ends July 31st, so go ahead and get your votes in.
Welcome, everyone. Like Emily said, get your ass over there because she's politer than I am. Vote, 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 vote. I mean, we've got shows. We already got shows that have made the nominee list, which is nice. So some of them may already made it to stage 2. So get over there and vote, people. What is the holdup? I know how many people listen to the show. Get over there and vote. We could win this, man. Whether we do it or not, I don't know. I think John Goodwin's going to probably win this year with Writers of the Future. He got nominated last year. Almost made it to the top, but he got honorable mention, which is still nice. The station got honorable mention from iHeart this year, which is nice. And 2 years running, best local broadcast. And now we have 5 shows up for best podcast in the United States. So go vote, people. And look, I've seen some of the competition. Look, I'm not hating on anybody, okay? But some of them shows are kind of boring. At least you know these are not going to be boring. We're going to always be entertaining. I have a very special friend with me tonight who I haven't talked to in a while, Charis Melina Brown. She's a great lady, and she still looks like the day I met her 10 years ago. God, I don't know how she does. I'm getting like old. She gets younger. I'm
the
jealous.
ET's taught me how, so I'm sure.
All I'm saying is the girl looks wonderful, man.
Thank you.
And maybe it's that good living. I don't know what it is. But really, ladies and gentlemen, I met her a ways back, and I swear it's a girl don't look any different than she did when I first met her, which is a great thing. It's nice that you look good, you feel good. How's life treating you? Everything good? Everything's rolling around?
Yeah, it's a strange life.
Cool.
But I'm just so grateful because, I started on a spiritual journey. My first spiritual awakening was in 2003. And that's when things got like out of the norm. And then my ET awakening was in 2011. And that's when I met you, was right after that. When because you know how it is when ETs come in, they're like, oh, we're going to flip the entire script on you. Everything you thought you knew. Absolutely not. And actually, this has been here the whole time. It's multidimensional. It pops up everywhere. So that changes everything. But then after a while, that also just becomes kind of the background of what's going on. And the life that I've chosen is definitely a different kind of one. So there's one layer of like seeing what's going on in the world and in the various dimensions. And then there's the other one of seeing where we're equipped to show up and what our equipment is and showing up in that way. So sometimes it means being aware of what's going on in the grid. Sometimes it means withdrawing from the grid so you can kind of like cook up your medicine that you can bring back in. At least that's what it's like for me. So sometimes I'm really connected and sometimes I'm really reclusive, but it tends to be in balance. Like I'm doing pretty good. I feel like all those spiritual practices that I've been practicing for so long have finally like kicked in basically since quarantine. It felt like, all right, kids, here it is. Like, let's go to work. This is what we've been training for. And that whole thing has felt very much like activation time. So that's how it is for me.
But I was going to say that's very true because a lot of my spiritual background from when I was younger and stuff that I'd done, like when I was meeting you and all, it really paid off doing this 18 months of, my company was fairly busy because we own a maintenance company. So we still were considered essential workers, but we were nowhere near as busy as we had been. And it was, man, I was like, the station keeps me busy too. But it's like, man, I got to go back to some of my teaching so I can relax and not get aggravated. Because everybody was freaking out. I'm like, people, look, you're either going to get COVID or you're not. Stop. So y'all can go play. It's like playing Russian roulette right now. I said, so, and then the shot stuff started. Are you going to get shot or you're not going to get shot? So, I said, you know what? We'll get the damn thing, which so far it hasn't killed me. So that's a good thing. But by the way, I seen somebody popped up on the text. I got the J&J shot, guys. Yeah. But we had COVID. It was weird for us. In January of the year before last, when all this was starting, my son got sick for 5 days and wouldn't get off the couch for nothing. And I was like, then he started feeling better, and then I started feeling bad. And it went 14 days. I went to see my doctor. I said, "What's up? 14 days with the flu?" She said, "She ain't got the flu. Flu don't last that long." So I'm like, she said, "I don't know what you got, but she ain't got the flu." She said, "You're starting to look better, so don't worry about it." So I go home. About 3 months later, I get a phone call. "Oh, you hate COVID." I'm like, "Oh, well, thanks for telling me now," which made me feel a little better, which because you kind of, it doesn't make you immune, but it does help to keep it off. And then when Johnson came out, I said, "Well, I'm not getting that stupid Moderna shot. I'm getting it." I went to one shot, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't feel any side effects. My arm didn't get sore, and I didn't have any side effects. Now, I can't swear that's how it's going to be for other people because I've heard horror stories about all three of them. Different mindsets react to different things, but I figured the universe stuck it there for a reason, and I better go ahead and take it. I went, and the other two, I was a little worried about. Maybe I might grow some extra parts, maybe another ear, maybe another nose, maybe a third eyeball or something. I wasn't sure. When you start getting into stuff like this, you never know what's going to happen. But I've always maintained the same thing. I'm not going to tell anyone not to get it or to get it. It's not my place to tell you what to do with yourself. I can tell you about my own experiences, and you can judge for what you want to do. And you've had lots of people on shows talk about it. I know it comes up on a political show a lot. Michael Angley works for the trackers. So, and he was great because he predicted Delta 4 weeks, 5 weeks out before it even hit the country. He was telling us it was coming. And now he's on the Lambda thing. So I think, though, my brain is in the mindset that it's not going to bother me now. I found a little peace, a little love, and a little light, and a little laughed out loud at the same time. So I've been feeling better. I've been feeling bad, but it's been a little strange ride for the last 18 or 19 months. And it's just, first off, it was so weird being on interstate with nobody on interstate. It was like when the contactees talked to me about the Holocaust dream. It kind of was like this. I was like, wow, there is nobody, no cops, no people. I'm
When
flying
was
out.
this Holocaust dream that they were having? When
Well,
was that?
well, they still have them all the time. We get 1/3 of all the contactees we deal with have the Holocaust dream. And the Holocaust dream is really weird because COVID sounded a lot like it. It didn't turn out to be that way, but basically what they talk about is they talk about finding these towns, they're like ghost towns. One lady's described in Houston, Texas. She knows the place. She's driving in town. There's like 12 people with her. They pull in town. There's cars parked. The lights are working. The lights in the buildings are open. And they got out the car to walk to the building to see something, and a face popped out of the glass and started talking to her and started talking about what the last thing she bought was. So that's facial recognition advertising, which we know was invented, but the government for some reason said you can't have it. So sometime in the future, this is going to happen. They talk about only 1.5%, oh, I'm sorry, 15% of the planet will survive. Everybody else will die in less than 8 days. So they talk about it sounds like a pandemic because all the buildings are intact, all the vehicles are intact. It just sweeps through, but all of them give great detail about what goes on and who's waiting in for them and how they run into the government and where the ships are. It's a strange thing to read it. But when COVID hit, it just popped in the back of my head. I said, man, I hope this ain't it. I said, I thought we was going to get longer on the planet. I'm still having fun, people. I'm not ready to go on no motherships another. I'm ready to have some fun. You know, my companies are doing well. I actually got money to spend, extra money. I said, and that's what's sad about the COVID thing. A lot of people made a lot of money. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of people. A very select few people made a lot of money, and everybody else kind of got screwed. Or you got unemployment, whatever came first. I'm not exactly sure. I remember a friend of mine down here said, "Well, they're going to give me $400 a week." I said, "Dude, you make $1,400 a week. What are you going to do with $400 a week?" I said, "Your bills are twice what mine are." And I said, "I know what I make." And he's like, "Yeah, but it's free money." I was like, "Keep the free money. Let me go back to work. I don't care about the free money. Let me go back to work." And so then we got a lot of sightings were coming in all this time, way more sightings than usual, because more people were home and they were paying attention. They were bored. They were out in their backyards, out in their front yards, or out by the lake. Anywhere there wasn't people is where they were. And it was weird because we really had, like I was telling you before we came on the air, something of mine just aired because I have over 50 contactees in 2 days. That's incredible. And so I'm like, yeah. And then one lady says, "Can I come on your show?" I said, "I don't even know who you are. You can't come on the show."
How about you? I talk to you first and see what you're saying.
Let's
See if I
get to
agree
know
with
each
it.
other a
Maybe.
little bit here.
Yeah.
And then I had some friends I hadn't talked to from Europe got hold to me, which was strange, and because they were having a harder time than we were. But three of them were telling me that their contact had seemed to pick up. I don't think it seemed to pick up, and they felt it did. But I felt like they just had more free time on their hands, so they were remembering more. I doubt it changed in its intensity either way, but who knows? Who knows? And then somebody asked me about you the other day. It was one of them grave people said, "What have we abducted her lately?" I said, "How would I know? You're a damn alien."
I know.
No, I'm
Just
not
look at
supposed to.
pull up the file and you can see.
I said,
Yeah.
"No, let's go to the computer." I'm like, but it's really weird because a friend of mine, Jennifer, she was talking about a visitation to a ship recently.
Mm.
And she was going on and on about this lady she met. And she said, she's really sweet. She was really nice. And she started talking. And for some reason, it sounded like you. And I said, well, I know somebody like that. I said, I can't be, certain or sure or anything. And she said, no. And she said, she's kind of tall girl. And she's going on and on and on and on and on. I said, well, she never told you your name? I said, did you ever bother asking? Well, no, I never thought about it. I said, next time you see her, ask her her damn name. And she's
Shoot her
like,
my social on whatever thing it is and see, because
yeah.
if it was me, she'll know if she sees me.
Oh yeah, I mean you have a distinctive look. I mean people know
Yeah.
who you are when they see you.
Right.
You've been teaching anything lately, or just been keeping to that?
Definitely.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, always something.
I caught you. Where was it? Not on TikTok. It was on Instagram. That's what it was.
Mm.
Okay. For some reason I keep getting TikTok and Instagram confused. I'm not
They're
sure
very
why.
similar. I just jumped on TikTok like last week. I had been fighting it and fighting it and fighting it. I was like, I don't want another app. I'm already on screens all the time with everything I have to do, so I don't want to do more. And yet a good friend of mine who's an artist, she was like, Charis, it's just the way of things. They might just go that way. You should do it. And I'm like, okay. And it's actually fine. So yeah, it's fine. But yeah, I'm teaching. I do a lot more one-on-one kind of mentorship work these days. And it's funny because the ETs, the way I see it is multiple dimensions. Because I remember back when you and I met and there was conversation about like, well, for instance, fairy energy, fae, are they ETs or are they some other thing? And for me, I actually found out about the ETs before the fae. So I was like, oh, y'all are here too. And what I started realizing is, oh, these are different dimensions. Or even you say the people who are really into what's going on the various different levels, like what may be going into the behind the scenes stuff of our government and whatever. I think, yeah, all that's going on. It's a dimension that's happening. You can choose to plug in or not, depending on what's calling to you. We have different things going on in different spots. And sometimes I know that as time has gone by for me, like I'd be in a spot a lot. And yeah, of course, I've had some like willpower fights with some things that sometimes would want to come and push you around. And you're like, no, this is my town. You're not going to push me around. I will say before COVID, I had a couple of dreams. The one that's coming to mind super intensely is I dreamt I was out in this house in the middle of like long, like cornfield, but it wasn't corn. It was just grass, all to every horizon. And the important part of the dream was there was a wave of fire coming. And I was like, hey, there's a bunch of like a prairie fire just coming. And it just went right past the house because the house had a little bit of concrete around it, just like a little walkway, but it was enough to protect it. It was just fast. And there was a man and a woman standing outside looking in. And I remember she had an umbrella and they both had blonde hair because I remember the sun shining through their hair. And they were just looking at me in the house. And I opened the curtain and I looked and they felt peaceful, but very intense, like not disempowered at all. And so if you're a disempowered person, you feel that energy, it might scare you, but it's fine. They're just know who they are. And it's like they were coming to meet me. And it's like it's not that I expected them, but I also did not expect them. And I knew that there was water coming next. I was like, there's going to be water that comes. And so when I woke up from that, I remember telling my students at the time who I was guiding through various multi-D stuff that I'd had that dream. And I was like, okay, create in your aura around you. Imagine that there's an air bubble and imagine you're starting putting plants in there to create your own oxygen supply so that whenever this wave of water hits in whatever layer of astral that was, you're prepared. And then you think COVID, lungs, breathing, and all the fires that we just had. So I don't know. I definitely had signs like that. And then it came. I was like, oh, I wonder if this is that thing. But I think the thing that people often forget when they're trying to decode dreams and stuff is that it's not so on the nose in the physical. Usually it's much more subtle. It's much more low key. Even if you think about 2012 and all the shifts there, when they actually went down one by one, it didn't feel all that intense for most people, but looking back, you're like, oh no, we're in a different reality now. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, well, no, it feels like that. It feels. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Was this an alternate reality, or was this some kind of shift that we went into? Because it seems like it's taken longer than it should to get out of it. Or it's hard to explain, but it just doesn't feel. I don't know, it feels real, but it doesn't feel real. It kind of has this. How can I say this synthetic feel to it? It's
Mm-hmm.
because I know it's real. Because people have gotten COVID. I know people have died from it and stuff. But there's something about this whole thing that it just has this unreal feel or something, or maybe it was created for this particular thing. It's a strange feeling altogether because I'm really kind of wondering sometimes, why this came out the way it did, why it panned around the planet the way it did, and why so many people don't want to talk about it or be involved with it, even with vaccinations. And I don't criticize anybody because, frankly, if I was living by myself, I probably wouldn't have got vaccinated
Mm-hmm.
because I'd already had it. So I was kind of thinking, well, I'll just leave it alone. But
Yeah.
I got people coming and going all the time, and I'm in people's homes every day. I mean, like today, I was in 14 different homes and Lowe's and Home Depot and a couple other places. And then, now we're getting ready to put the new FM station up. So I've been dealing with the FCC and a bunch of people over there. So it's just a lot of contact, and I would rather not get anybody sick. So I figured, I'll get the shot and be done with it. And see, now I'm sure in 6 months again, they're going to be, yeah, you need another shot there, bud. Kimberly,
Wow.
I am wearing a tie, baby. You just can't see it because it's black. Yeah, I'm all black. Look, see.
Yeah, I like the look. I like the black on black.
It's just what it is. And actually, if you see me in person, the black tie is actually darker than the shirt. You can tell. But that's not really a weird question. I mean, I'm off the realm, but no. What are you asking, Charis? Why don't you come over to the? Why don't y'all go to one of the 3 YouTube chats and we can see you better that way? Because right now you're on Messenger. It just pops up to the right side of my screen. Well, what do you want to know? What does she teach? She teaches a lot. Well, I'll let her answer that. She teaches a lot of stuff. Why are you doing that? I'm going to flip another third one. Hold on. Why you
Sure.
answer that?
Yeah. So I teach people how to get in touch with their deeper knowledge. So I started off teaching intuitive development way back in the day. My experience is I have a master's in psychology. I also have a master's in health. I was going to get a PhD in psychology, and 3 months before graduating, I left to write the Starseed books instead, right around when I was having my ET awakening. And since then, I have taught people online because I have been a teacher, Waldorf school and regular types of school for all kinds of ages. I also taught when I was in graduate school. So I taught college courses and stuff. So now what I teach is there are courses on various types of mind, body, spirit health. I teach a lot of feminine empowerment. So I'm actually about to release a Fierce Goddess course, a study at your own pace course that takes you through a month or two of empowering your intuition and empowerment as a female. So you can go to my website and see there's more stuff coming up all the time. But mostly what I teach is people how to kind of meet up with why your soul and spirit is here. If you're super multi-D, we can go super multi-D as deep as you want to go. But also we can just do regular mind, body, spirit stuff, like having a spiritual practice and being able to perceive the synchronicities in your life and surf them rather than just letting it come and figuring out how to connect with yourself at the deeper layers.
She's got a very calming effect on people. Y'all should pay attention. We've talked many times over the years, and it's like everything. We all make a lot of friends, and then we're all moving around. Sometimes we're in the same circle, sometimes we're in different ones. But it's a very interesting thing. And she's got a lot going for her. But if y'all looking for, I mean, you can find her on Facebook. Of course, you can find her on. You can find her with Instagram and now TikTok. We were just talking about that. So, but don't be scared to say hello or what's up or how y'all doing and things like that.
Yeah, say hi. And I always love hearing stories when I show up in people's dreams and stuff. I'll know, Joe, I'm sure you got some version of this where you wake up and you feel certain ways. You're like, oh, I was traveling last night. Sure enough, the phone rings. Or a couple hours later, people are instant messaging me on IG like, you're in my dream. Like, yeah, I thought I was up there doing some stuff. And I think a lot of people just remember seeing you, but it could be multi-D. It could be on a ship. You don't necessarily know unless they know the details. But I think often when I see people in ships, I'm hanging out in the gardens and the arboretum anyway, which by the way, if people want to know a place that you want to go get abducted, if you want to go hang out with Star Family, you can go to the national parks. And if you just hang out there for a while and set the intention, they'll come hang out with you. And I also want to just say, because there's all kinds of stuff about getting contacted versus abducted out there. And you always have the right to declare that you only want things around that want the best for you and everything you touch through all dimensions. So if anything's ever making you feel sketchy, just say, nope, get out. If you don't make me feel good and safe, then no. If in doubt, because there's plenty of good stuff out there, just hold out for it. It'll come.
And if not, they'll just wipe your memory so you don't have to remember anyway. So they'll make it easier on you.
Exactly. You
Try
got
to
up
keep
and
up.
you had your coffee the next morning and it was fine. So, and also I do think that we agree on some level. Like I know I've been a part of the hybrid program for generations and generations. And it's like, yeah, that's part of why I'm here. I can't like be 18 generations in and then be like, actually, I don't want to. It was my idea too. So, but I know I've got privilege in that area because they
Yeah.
do feel friendly in my experiences.
And the hybrid program is interesting because, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and somebody goes, well, are they hybrid in us or them? I said, well, they're not so much hybrid in them. I said, but it's kind of a mix. I said, they're hybrid in us to an extent. I said, so what they do is I said, they'll take somebody and they'll take a little bit of their DNA and a lot of our DNA and mix it up so that the next generation and next generation and next generation and even the first generation is moving up. But sooner or later, they're going to come for all of these people. I hate to say it that way because that doesn't sound right, but go ahead.
You sound creepier than it is.
Well, it sounded kind of dark, actually, and
Done
it's not.
tired. Coming to
It's not
you.
quite like that. So somewhere along the line, all this stuff is going on in your life. Somewhere you decided you showed them an interest that you wanted to be part of whatever the resettlement programs are, and so what they're doing is they're creating bodies that are being held places. Now, some of these bodies are going to be used for y'all. They're going to, when you die or before, they just upload your conscious into the new body. It kind of looks like, well, it looks just like you, but sometimes it'll be a little heavier, a little taller, depending on what kind of world you're going to. Or if you're flip flopping through dimensions, that's even a little bit more different. I told this story just the other night about the couple in Pensacola we had dinner with, and they went to bed. We were together till about 12:30, and then they went home and went to bed. And I went back to the hotel, and then at 6:30 in the morning, my phone just ringing off the hook. I'm like, what the hell? So I'm half asleep. What? Who the blank are you? And what are you? George. So I said, you got to come over right now. So I just seen you like 5 hours. You got to come right now. You got to come right now. So I get myself dressed, still half asleep, drive over there. I pull up, and we had taken pictures. There was a big group of us that night, so we had taken pictures. And everybody was decked out. And I get to her house. She's in shorts. She got more hair on her legs than I got on my face. So I'm like, I mean, it's like this long. I'm not kidding you. Like, and his beard is like this. He looks like, how the Muslims wear a beard like that. I mean, it was just, what the hell? So I'm pulling on his beard, pulling on her hair legs, trying to figure if it's fake. And it didn't feel fake to me. And they yanking and yapping every time I pulled. So I said, what the hell happened? She said, obviously we were taken. And obviously we were taken out of time for some. So in the 5 hours that passed between the time I seen them and the time they called me, there was 3 weeks in between there.
Wow.
So, so
Yeah.
they put them back with no memory of anything. They just put them back. So I said, when y'all are ready, we can do some regression and see what you can remember. What was funny about this is they waited 2 years before they were ready to do the regression. Well, because it freaked them out. And they went to
Yeah.
doctors and they went to all kind of people. They went to specialists. And somebody said, well, maybe it's lupus disease. He said, overnight you're going to grow it. And the guy said, no, that's not going to happen. He said, you might get hairy after a couple of months, couple of years. He said, but not in 5 hours.
Hours.
And it
Yeah.
was so funny. He said, because they had the video playing when they went to see the first doctor, and the doctor's doing this to him, pulling on his beard. And he's like, stop. He said, I just want to see if it was fake. And then he tried to like peel it or something. Obviously, it wasn't fake. So then the guy took a razor and cut it so he could see. He just couldn't believe what he was seeing. So he goes, do you have witnesses to this? He said, several. So he pulled out the picture of all of us together that night. And it clearly had the date and time on the picture. He said, you're kidding me, right? He said, no. And he said, the guy right here, he said, he specialized in this. He said, I called him in the morning. He was the first person I called. He came in with the camera and videotaped everything. So we got the pictures from the last time we were together and the pictures from 5 hours later. And he said, there's no way. And the doctor just did not want to believe this. He was having a hard time with it. He's like, there is no possible way. He said, well, you can clearly see the pictures taken. You can talk to the witnesses because his wife was wearing just a dress about thigh high, so you could see her legs well shaved. He was clean cut, no beard, no mustache. And when we got there, I mean, he had a serious beard. He had one of them beards I used to grow when I was a kid, like a Fu Manchu down here, man. I mean, this thing was huge, and it was thick, but the weird part was he was 32 at the time, I think. It had gray stripes, like stress stripes in it. So,
Ooh, what have been going on up there?
so he must have been a little bit stressed. So finally, 2 years later, we get him regressed, and we start retrieving information. And for the most part, it sounded more like an enlightenment experience. They got to spend a lot of time on a big ship. And they stayed talking about the gardens and the waterfalls and stuff like that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a common thing with contactees. It's like the RH negative thing, but a lot of the big ships, from floor to ceiling, they have these gardens. I guess it would be like the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. All the rails have gardens. There's big things we get at the bottom. There's a waterfall, and then there's offshoots where you can sit and enjoy the gardens on almost every floor. So, they use it not just for beauty, but for air scrubbing and things like that. And they always talk about how well the air smells or doesn't smell. It doesn't stink or anything. Like, on Earth, some places smell really good, some places not so good, some places like, oh my God. It just depends where you're hanging out. Last time I was in LA, I remember walking down, I went to go get a drink. And I was left the hotel and was walking down the street. And I remember passing these two alleys going, all right, people, please. Between the marijuana and the garbage, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Which
Yep.
I'm not
Any city, when
Yeah.
you're in the bottom of any city, it's just woof, and all
Yeah.
that concrete and stone. Yeah.
And LA's a big place. There's a lot going on over there. But just recently, I had 11 people in 2 days call me from LA about being taken.
Ooh,
And it's
interesting.
always weird because, it's always weird. We were talking about this. It's always weird when stuff runs. Because I've done a good bit of TV and a good bit of radio over the years. And you never know when something reruns or where it reruns to. And I know somebody had told me that they had seen me on Discovery just recently. I said, what was I talking about? He said, you were just talking about the hybrid program and how different people handle knowing that they've been contacted. Charis has a good way. She deals with it really well. She's incorporated it into her life. And I just want to tell people all the time, if you want to have a peaceful life, when you know this is happening to you, the best thing to do is incorporate this into your life.
Amen. So you're not fighting it.
Yeah, well,
Gosh, how miserable,
it's what you end up being, just miserable. I mean, it's
Well, and you can learn, you can like find other people who can help you. And also there is some layer of empowerment. Like, okay, so take scary experience that happened once when all this was going down, and it got triggered by a TV commercial I saw that was about some show that had like a flash that looked kind of like this, which kicked me back to a suppressed memory where I remembered what had happened. And also, I mean, I don't know what I would say to spiritual people in this case would be, in other dimensions, it's all about willpower rather than physical strength. To y'all, I'm going to say, wherever that spot is, my body was made differently, whatever, right? Both are true. It just depends on who you're talking about. Some people aren't comfortable with the whole ET conversation. So I try to like keep the truth, but also like make it so we don't end up just fighting about stuff. Anyway, so I'm sitting back in this chair that's holding me, and there's a reptilian. And I also want to say I've met reptilians that are totally cool. I'm not down for the reptilian racism. I know cool reptilian human hybrids. I know cool dragons. Like, they're not all bad. But this one was in my face, like snarling at me. And it was a similar shot as that moment that was on the TV that triggered me. It was even a commercial. It wasn't even a show that I watched. And he was like obviously trying to intimidate me, like snarling in my face, right? And that version of me in the astral realm, I am more violent than I am in this realm. And in the other realms, I tend to be more physically violent. I'm not a fighter in the body, but in the other realms, I am. And in other lifetimes, I have been. So I just felt this rage come over me, which was apparently the right way to handle this situation, because you're in the reptilian realm, you access those emotions. Like, that's how you have your boundary, And so I grabbed him by the throat and stood up and forced him back and straight on. And he went back because whatever force that I had was enough to say, hey, get the f out of my face, absolutely not. And so while it was a scary moment, but also, that's after years of realizing how to be empowered in those spaces and all these micro experiences where you're like, whoa, let me take my power back. Let me take my power back. Let me take my power back. So you do work for it, but there's work that's done. And now I feel like pretty much anything that gets in touch with me at this point is pretty respectful, because I also authentically do want to work with everybody, because I'm hybridized and I got everything in me. So I can't be like, say, oh, well, this part of my own DNA, I'm going to say no. This part of my own DNA, I'm going to say is bad. Like, I authentically do. And I think that the key on earth, I think the thing that we're making is some new type of something so everyone benefits. That's why so many races came together to create this. And there are various split offs. I think that this whole pandemic time is definitely the branch off of a bunch of Mandela effects, and we're going to be able to see where everybody goes. But I also believe that a golden age is also coming, and that's where I'm putting my chips, and that's like what I'm choosing to feed and where I'm choosing to like flow my energy. But there are a bunch of things that are coming. It just depends on like where your path is, I think.
And how you're going to deal with it. But no, that's the best way to deal with a reptilian, because reptilians are weird. for the most part, they're an agrarian society, but they can be aggressive. And like people ask me all the time, well, if they come for me for this way or for that way, like people who were having sex with them and stuff, I said, if you feel that they're hurting you for any reason, you can't just say stop. They're not going to stop. And I said, you can put it in your head. I said, but the best way to do it is to build up all your energy, put that thought in your head, and physically manifest that in their other head, and they'll stop because they respect strength. And that's one. It's just each race is different, but this race respects strength. So if you show your strength, they'll stop. But if you don't, they're not going to stop. They're just going to keep on going.
It's like people that mess with you, that always mess with you, and finally when you're like, hey, seriously, chill, they're like, okay.
Yeah,
but
it's
they
like
will
punches
put you
below
to
the
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just part of the grays are different, the humans are different, the hybrids are all different. It's just everything's got its own place in here, and it's just strange now because once we started a blood type survey, we realized that the reptilians and humans were here first before the grays, which was just kind of weird to find out. And then, matter of fact, we didn't even see the grays. I think the first hieroglyph shows up about 2,500 years ago. I'd actually have to go look at the Egyptian, but we have them on the sites. I think it's 2,500. But the reptilians and humans have been here as long as we have been, or longer. I can't tell you for sure, but they were longer. It's like, you mean, well, yeah, Chris, in that aspect. So when we were talking about this the other night, for 2 million years, humans were brown head, brown eyed, brown skin. Some probably looked good, some probably were scary looking, some were probably hairy. God only knows 2 million years ago. And then RH negative pops on the scene and things start to change. The eye color start to change. We start seeing green and blues and mixed. We started seeing blonde and red hair because they were mutations. And whatever this started, this RH negative was a mutation. It was some type of mutation. But it's an important mutation because when it happened, it was a baby killer. Stillborns, because RH negative, RH positive, RH negative parents, you used to not be able to have kids. You got to thank the anti-dinogen G gene for that. They got a shot for it. That's why back in the day, when you went to go get your marriage license, you had to have a blood test to see if you were compatible. Now you don't have to do that anymore because we figured out how to take care of it. But it was weird. So when you think about this thing showing out of nowhere 35,000 years ago, and it was killing babies, and then all of a sudden you realize today that RH negative is the purest form of blood known to man. It's where all of our hematological research comes from. And O negative is the only universal donor there is. People tell me all the time, well, AB is only 1.5, and so is AB negative. I said, that's true. I said, but AB can take O negative. O negative cannot take AB. I said, so technically, they're 8.5%, and the RH negative people, the O negative people, are the rarest form of blood. Plus, we learned that RH negative people have different personalities than RH positive people. And what's scary about it, or I mean, scary or not scary, it depends on the way you look at this. If you look at the world leaders today, you're going to notice most of them have colored eyes, not brown eyes, but colored eyes. Also, same thing in Hollywood. The most famous stars generally have blue or green or a mix of that color eyes, which is a strange thing because brown eyes are by far the dominant. No, I said this the other night. I married a brown-eyed woman. No, I have nothing against brown eyes. I don't know what you're talking about. I said, matter of fact, she had dark hair and brown eyes, and she was dark-skinned, so I probably threw back to the originals. But that's my own particular.
Beauty is beauty, right? In all the colors. What do they say? Fine comes in every color.
So when we move forward to see this in our recent time, this big change, I'm actually RH O negative. Yeah. When I found out about when this research study was going on and I read the results, I was like, what? Y'all got this wrong. Y'all better make this O positive.
Yeah, I'm the universal donor. I'm like, of course, that's what I am. Can give to everyone, can't receive, but from hardly anyone.
That's true, you can. But it was funny. It was funny how many, I guess we'll call them contact. I don't know how many people I met that was similar. They were just coming out of the woodwork. And when we would find out, so that's what drove the study because we kept having these groups coming in, which O negative blood, not O negative, but RH negative blood and green or blue eyes. So ICROS's current database has 72,000 contactees in it. Out of that, 65% are RH negative, and almost 70% have green or blue eyes or a mix. So it's really weird. So you only got 35% with O positive and about 30% with brown eyes. It doesn't make any sense because that's a majority. That's a dominant on our planet. RH positive and brown eyes are by far. I mean, green eyes only make up 2% of the world's population, and so do blue. And that's counting the combinations between. So only 4% of the world has these color eyes, but yet when you look at TV, they are by far the most dominant color on television. Figure that one out, people. There's something different about them.
Yeah, I think it's that striking factor. And I think that I wonder too about the contactee stuff. I would have to ask you about the statistics, but what role race plays. Because I know I was on my cousin's radio show one day, because I'm Black, white, and Native. Those are my 3 races. And
Don't let her lie to you.
oh, thank you. Yeah. And I think hybrid, like human hybrids, I'm like, yeah, we get like the best of the DNA. They like fight it out when they're making our genes. And so we get the strong stuff. But I think seeing both sides of it. And I do think my cousin has a radio show back when I was first writing the Starseed books. And I was on there, and one of her listeners, she's Black, a leader in the Black community. And one of the listeners is like, how come it's always white people that get abducted? And I was thinking, and I didn't see that thing till afterward, but I was like, oh no, that is not true. However, I do think it might be harder in certain races. That would be a whole other study, but to talk about it, to come out about it. Also, depending on religion, certain things will label this straight up demonic, and then you never realize what it was. So I don't know. That would be a whole like life's work to figure that one out.
It is a study we've got going on right now. So this is what's weird about this. So in the United States, when you talk about races, Black and Hispanics, of course, it's a lower amount than it is white, but it's the way it's mixed. But if you go to Africa or South America, it flip-flops. There's far more colored people getting abducted than white people. It's just because the populations run that way. They trend that way. And, I say colored people because people get mad at me when I say Black in Africa and Black in South America. The South Americans get really pissed at me for some reason.
It's just
the safest word to
people
go.
With dark melanated people versus not. I mean, and I will say something about the bodies that you were saying earlier, because I have this joke that in the times where I've remembered being alive and having lifetimes similar-ish to this one, because in this lifetime, like I do magic publicly, and you could not do that very recently, like they would burn me, they would drown me, and it has happened, But anyway, I think when I've come up in Egypt, when I've been in Uruk, when I've been in Babylon, I think the bodies that I was in was similar to this one. And I feel I have these memories of before I was born, choosing the attributes of this form, and Atlantis too, like choosing the attributes of this form and being like, yeah, I want to look like that, and splicing and combining the genes to make it look like a similar thing. And also when I flash into the ships, that version looks a lot like this too. So I think it's the same gene code that when we like the shape, when we feel like it's comfortable, we just kind of keep recreating it. And I will also say that I do look like my family in some ways, but these elongated limbs that I have, nobody has these. I am certain that was them like shifting me. Like I am the genes of my parents, but they were also like radiated or something to put some
too much
other
time
stuff
on Mars. That's why she's tall as she is. Actually,
well, I'm only 5'4". I'm only 5'3", 5'4", but everyone thinks I'm so long because I'm stretched out. I got these gray hands. These are this is the Zetas. You can't tell me absolutely. I'm like proud of it.
Christopher, you mean she's talking about? Yeah, well, her mom and sister are good looking too. Yeah, I met them a couple of years ago, but
New Orleans. We miss New Orleans.
Yes,
we'll be back.
They come. Yeah, no, she has a good looking family. And an intelligent family too. We're not going to get into all of that because it's so weird to talk about. No, her mom and her sister are very intelligent, and her sister has a pretty good job. Last time I talked to her, so they're a bright family.
Thank you.
Charis decided to go a different way than the rest of them, which was her choice. Yeah. And don't think because she's doing this that she's not intelligent, because she's very intelligent. So I don't want you to get confused. Now, this little young lady, Leah, in the room, her and I were just talking about this very subject just a little while ago. And about coming back or being reincarnated or how you can come back, because it's weird for people, when you think about being brought back, because this is what confuses people. So you got to understand something, ladies and gentlemen. The aliens have been with us the whole time, so they're very intimate with us. And what I mean by that is they know our souls for long periods of time. So the same grays that are taking you today are the same grays that took you 10,000 years ago. It's the same people. So they kind of know how we're going to go. And we were talking about this, how you can come back and why you come back. So sometimes, now she might come back as a guy sometimes.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
But still she might. And then there's always the thing of I hate to call it clairvoyance because it's not really what it is, but there's always this thing where contactees have the ability to see things. They can see like parts of their lives or parts of somebody else's lives, or sometimes they can see long stretches of someone's life. They'll meet somebody, and then all of a sudden it's just in their head. And then sometimes we feel compelled to tell people, and sometimes we're like, no, 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 no. I ain't saying nothing to you. It's not going to
Good to
happen.
know. I'm just going to walk along.
Yes, yes. It was nice talking to you, but we're not going to go there today. Because some people really will take it and absorb it for what it is.
Yeah.
And then some people get angry. Well, I remember this is like 30 years ago. I told these three ladies what was going to happen to them. When they got married, what the guys were going to look like the whole 9 yards. And they're like, "Oh, you crazy." Well, everything's come to pass now. And they're like, so that day she went across. She goes, "You know, I hate you, right?" And I'm like, "Why?" She said, you should. I said, "I warned you in the beginning what was going to go on. Don't hate me." I said, "You was pre-warned." I said, "There's no reason to hate me for it." It's like
that was your warranty right there.
I said, because sometimes I will meet people or see people, and I'll just get this. And it's not. It's not like an image. It's not even like a thought. It's more like it's just like a rush of information that overwhelms me, and then I just feel a need to spill it out. And sometimes, sometimes it's just the way it works.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Can you see your front life? Well, you can see a lot of different things, but you got to remember something. We can see a lot of things forward now, but we're still making choices. So as we're clicking through this life, just because you see something at this moment going forward, it may change if you decide to do this or go that way, or decide to get married, or decide to do this, or have children or not have children, stay single.
The choose your own adventure book.
That's what it is. So
different timeline.
You just never know which way you're going to go. Because most of our choices are free will. There's some stuff I would say that unfortunately is pre-designed, but most of it's not. Most of it you can go, and then it's like when we're talking about the bodies on board the ships. So whenever the Holocaust actually does happen, whatever generation it happens, and probably not for a long time, but whenever it happens, they will have stored X amount of consciousness in these brains or on board the ships. They will download them, upload them, whatever you want to call it, and these will become active. Now, if like say we're still alive when it happens, they'll just take you and put you in. This body will just drop, and you'll be into the new one, and that's just the way you're going to live. Those bodies actually have big advantages over these. They have bigger brains. They're stronger. They're faster. The way they're designed is you're much more telepathic, much more empathic, you're much more clairvoyant. But by saying that, when you use these, there's a lot of stuff that goes on board the ships that we can't bring back with us simply because these brains can't hold it. So a lot of stuff, like you learn a lot of stuff, some of that will be left in, I guess you could call it an archive on board the ship or in a hard drive. Or in the host body you were using, it'll be stored there. So anytime you access it when you're there, you can use it. But that's also why you get downloads, because you've learned these lessons on board the ship. So instead of making you crazy trying to remember everything you learned at one time, they give you a download. And then your body absorbs, your soul and your brain absorbs a download. And you go on, and then later you get another download. And the faster you absorb, the more you handle it, the faster the downloads are going to be. But there comes a point where, these brains are just physically not large enough to handle a lot of the things, especially the abilities, because, empathic and telepathic abilities are tough to deal with, especially if you don't know what you're doing. I feel so sorry for some empaths. They'll call me up. You think I'm empathic? I said, let me ask you this. I said, does the mood change when you walk into a room? Yeah, so you're just the kind of person that's mean or ass. No, I'm really sweet. I said, so when you get a giggle, you hear people giggling in a room. I said, when you get sad, you see people sad in a room. I said, you're an empath that projects. I said, but some empaths don't project. Some empaths absorb. So they'll walk in a room and all of a sudden they'll get sad or they get happy. And if it's a large room with a lot of people, you can see them. They'll go through a range of emotions because they're picking up everybody's emotions. So that's one of the things you have to learn to control or to shut off or to block off. Not completely, because you don't want to miss out on everything. But
just learn to use it, because it can be a disability. If not, I'm extremely empathic enough so that it was definitely could be termed a disability before I understood how to use it. And even now I've made my life is pretty reclusive in a lot of ways because it is not comfortable to me to be around a lot of people all the time. It's way better for me to be legit by myself. I do have a couple of things I was thinking when you were talking about how the ETs have been around. I had a vision in the Smithsonian once, and then later I saw a movie that had some of those same codes, and I flipped out. And I'll tell you what the movie was at the end. I'm sure some folks probably already know. But I was in the Smithsonian, and that was right when I was getting tons and tons of downloads about starseed origins, right? And I was going through this hall of human development where they had all this mural about this is where humans came in and da-da-da. And it's funny because I felt this frustration deep on a deep level. And I felt to myself, that's not how they happened. That's not how it happened. And they know that's not how it happened. Like the theys somewhere up the line knew. I don't know who I was thinking that about, but I was. Anyway, I get into where they had these busts of the proto-humans, right? So they had their face and shoulders. And those artists did such a good job portraying life. I mean, they even had the gloss on the eyeballs. They looked alive. And so I was kind of getting down at eye level because they were making them about how tall they were, about 3.5 feet for these proto-humanoids, whatever. And I would get down and eye gaze with them and try to jog. I felt something happen. And, I'd been meditating so long at this point and getting tons of activations all the time. So I was like, okay, something's coming through. Let me let it through. And I had this memory of being extraterrestrial myself. Like I was in the all I remembered at the moment was in the ship coming down to Earth, in a little ship, like shuttle vibes, coming down to Earth, putting down a thing, coming down, and the humans running up and saying, "Hey, what's up?" And we were friends, and they were like short, we were tall, and we knew each other, and they would come and we would like do the little test, give them a little shot, whatever. And then we would go sit around the campfire and they would give us food. And the vibe felt, so I really love children. I speak baby, I speak child. I've taught all types of children. I think children are super cool. It felt like when you meet a cool 3-year-old, that 3-year-old is cool. You're not smarter than them. You've just been around a little bit longer. So you understand like more language. You can help them out with stuff, help speed them up with stuff. That's how it felt. And we like really loved the earth food because we only ever got earth food and we would come. So we were all homies. We were all cool. And then I would leave again and we would come back however later. Then later, about a year after that, I saw the movie Cloud Atlas. And when the Starseed character was coming down and interacting with the humans like way, way back, I was like, holy bananas. It's a lot. It was a lot like that. Only it was way less Hollywood in my vision, know. But yeah, that's a layer. And now I know that me, myself, have been around since way before Earth, have been around for the whole development of humanity. And I'm also human and I'm proud to be human and from Earth. But it's a lot to like put together in the mind as you realize this is after 10 years working this stuff through, and like doing it every day. Because when ETs came into my life, they did with a bang and blew everything apart and totally, I don't regret a thing. But it's a different kind of life knowing that that's going on all the time and just like being part of it,
It's hard. I always tell this when I meet people who are coming out. I'm like, or going through the awakening. I'm like, look, you got to take it in steps like anything else. I said, there's a lot of information but there's a lot of information. I said, you got to remember these aliens have been with us a long time. So through generations, you're picking up information after information after information, and then it just compiles itself. So it can become overwhelming, especially if you had a hard childhood or a hard life. That's one of the reasons they don't let us have telekinesis, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Not surprised.
Because a temper tantrum at the wrong moment could kill somebody, bring a building down. They just don't. I said, humans are just not ready for that. Because as it is, I used to teach, I still do for special groups, but I used to teach dream weaving to big groups. And dream weaving is an interesting thing. Dream weaving is something where you share dreams with someone else. Now, I would let them institute it and I would just come in. It's kind of a hard thing, but you can tell because everybody shares a dream. And then what I was teaching them is not only can you share your dream, but you can change your dream. You can alter your dream. You can change it to be what you want. If it turns out to be something hard, you can actually go in and rearrange it. Like if something's about to eat you can turn it into a stupid clown or a raggedy and just something goofy, something that you're not going to be fear of. So all of that, that's all, but it's more than that, because what I learned at a very young age is not only can I share dreams with people, but I could go into places that were closed off in their brains. So I was able to access parts of their brains. And a lot of times you just learn things that either you shouldn't have learned or you didn't want to learn. And it's because, probably 10% of the contactees that come to us, or maybe 15%, they're not actually contactees, but they took like a child abuse thing and turned it in to the alien thing because they'd rather believe in that than the abuse. And then don't get me wrong, people, there are a good 15 or 20% of contactees that have been abused as children.
Yeah.
But we never realized this until the last study, that almost 35% of the people we meet were orphans. Or been adopted. I should say been adopted, because they weren't orphans. Just means we're out. These people were adopted and raised and didn't know that they were until later in life. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing because we had a bunch out of Canada recently we were going through, and I don't want to say that they don't get abused, because some of them still get abused, but
Mhm.
the difference is once you understand your abilities, nobody's abusing you anymore. Okay,
Mhm.
you can stop it. You can give somebody a headache just by thinking about, or if you get really, or if somebody's being really angry with you, and you can just be empathically just be really silly, it throws them off. They don't know what to do with it. And when
Mhm.
you charting it into their head, part of their head is still fighting, going, "Oh no, we got to do this," but then it just takes over. Unless it's another empath or another contact, it's not that hard to do. But the dream weaving is so nice because you can guide people through meditation in their dreams. So you can pick out a particular thing you want to do, and you have them start to dream, and then you can have 7, 8, 10 people with you. I prefer to do it one on one because it's just easier to control. So what I'll do usually is they'll let them dream, and I'll take control of the dream and change certain things in the dream, and then I let them take control. So then in the morning when I get up, I take my tablet, which I keep next to the bed, and write it all down, and then I will call them, and have the tablet right here looking, and I'll call them in the morning and say, "Hey, what were you dreaming about last night?" So I'm looking for things like, well, just recently we did one, so we were using blue dragon. So we didn't tell them that in the beginning. So I said, "Did you dream about a red dragon?" She said, "How did you know?" I said, was there a strange man in a Holocaust cloak standing there that made your dragon turn blue?" She said, "How do you know?" I said, "Because it was me." So then I went through what all the things I added to her dream was. She was flipping out. She kind of scared her at first. And I said, "You're going to be scared." I said, "I'm not trying to take over your brain or anything." I said, "Just I want you to understand that you can do this." I said, "I'm just showing you that you can do this." I said, "Now spouses, listen to me. This is sneaky if you do this with your spouse. If you're in there digging around looking for things, I tell people all the time when you eavesdrop, a lot of times you hear stuff that you don't want to hear.
Yeah. I mean, integrity, right?
Uh,
Just have integrity.
so yeah,
Yeah.
try to do the honorable thing, and sometimes it's going to slip. I mean, if you sleep next to someone all the time, sometimes you're going to share these dreams quite often, and usually in the morning, if you're a close couple, when you get up in the morning, you'll talk about them and you'll know you've been sharing dreams. If you're not, you'll never know. But if you have good friends, sometimes you'll share them with them. Or
Yeah.
if you feel stress, sometimes you will send that stress to someone that will bring them back into your dream to help you
Mm.
calm down. Dream room's a great thing. It can be used for a lot of things. It can be used to teach. It can be used to bring calm into your life. You can also do assorted meditations through it, and it's easier to achieve in meditations when you're asleep. It's just easier because you're already asleep, so you can actually bring it in. I learned it. I'll tell you how I learned it. When I was in 8, 9, 10 years old, I used to get these just horrible nightmares, probably because I was being taken. I mean, I don't really know what it was, but I kept so. The first thing I did before I go to bed is I'd start running old episodes of Star Trek through my head. The original Star Trek. I just started writing. And then after about a year, I realized that I could interfere with the dream. I could change the outcome of something that I didn't like. I could change it. So the more I learned that, the less of the other dreams I was having, and the more of this. And then I realized after that, I no longer had to do a specific thing. I could let my brain just go. And if it did go to something that was bad, I could always bring it back to something else. And then it was the second woman I ever slept with. Um, we were actually good friends, and I don't know why we just got drunk one night and slept together. And I remember waking up in the morning and telling her about her dream. She slapped the living shit out of me, by the way. Uh, she said, I cannot believe you invaded my privacy like that." I said, "You were dreaming so
Me
loud the
too.
whole planet." I said, "Kirk, you was dreaming so loud the whole planet could hear you. It wasn't just you. I was interfering, just freaking all over everybody." And and then she started laughing, and she goes, "That is the coolest thing I've ever heard." She said, I said, "Yes, obviously you're empathic because you was just." And there's other things about being empath and telepathic. When you're in love with somebody, or even lusting with somebody, it can be intensified 10 or 15 fold when you're an empath, because
Hmm.
it's more than
Accurate.
just the act. I mean, you can merge your brains and your body. It's hard to explain it
Hmm.
to the experience, but it's a very different experience, and
Yeah.
it brings things to a much higher level. But it's a dangerous thing because if you do it with somebody that's just a friend, or somebody that you know you're not going to end up with, one or two of you might get hurt because it's intense,
Hmm.
and that it's going to linger, especially for somebody who's not in the same realm you are. It's going to linger with their mind for a long time. And
Yeah.
eventually they're going to get mad at you because it's not going the way they want it to. So I tell people, do it with who you want, but just, kind of take it easy in the beginning. Because once you learn how to do it, because when you go back and you lucid dream, you can act in the dream, participate in the dream. But when it's a true lucid dream, it's not actually a dream. It's something that's either going on, something coming up, or something you've seen before. because it's actual an active dream. It's not just an everyday dream. Lucid dreaming is being awake and aware of what you're going on. It's not like realm sleep dreaming. It's different.
Mhm.
It's hard to explain.
Yeah, part of the work that I do is shamanic work. So it's in the astral realm and the in between realms. Um, and it's real. It's a real place over there. And you can learn how to move on purpose over there. And because you're doing stuff anyway, it's like how you exist on an intercellular level right now, even though you're not thinking about it, like you're still there, your cells are still doing stuff. So kind of how you're saying, I love how your childhood kind of forced you into being a lucid dreamer. I was that way with energy work. I'd be sitting in church actually, and there could be a lot of theories about what was actually going on here, but I would start getting these headaches coming through my mind sitting in church as a little girl. And so you're just sitting in church, you got to listen, and it's boring and you don't really understand it because you're like 7. And I would feel these pains coming in my head, this wave of pain coming in my head. So I would imagine that the pain was one color, the healthy part of my mind was another color, and I would like force the healthy color in the pain. I would spend like an hour fighting this pain out of my mind. What I think now as what I am is that some kind of entity was like reaching through and trying to control or hook in or whatever. But as a kid, I didn't know. And then as an energy worker, I just realized I was doing energy work. So it's interesting how we like get equipped for what we're going to be, and we get trained in how to do it, often through trauma and stuff, but it still gives us our tools that we need to then do our jobs, like our real jobs as adults.
It does. It actually gives you it really steps you up in the game. And for people, when you get something, especially in a lucid dream, and it's like danger, Will Robinson, danger, pay attention to it and haul ass. Do not ignore it because it's warning you of something that's coming up. Do not ignore it, because if you ignore it, more than likely something bad is going to happen to you or somebody else. So all I can tell you is pay attention to it, because it makes a difference.
Yeah, say trust your intuition, period. Yeah, like whatever, maybe just go like a week or a month and say, every time I'm going to get intuition, I'm going to trust it. Not that it'll be right 100% of the time, but it'll probably be right a lot more than you think. And then if you practice, you'll get to see which feelings are always accurate and which ones might be like a little bit of fear, a little bit of like projection or whatever.
And when you do things like I do, when you host radio, I remember when I went to go learn facial recognition and body language, it was really easy for me because I'm empathic and telepathic. So it made it much easier for me. I remember when I took my first voice stress test, and then I became a voice stress analysis. And I remember when I started doing hypnosis, it was easier for me. Matter of fact, I learned this. When I do hypnosis, sometimes I use a couple of forms of it that I use when I'm getting information. But what you can do is what they call a how do you say it? When you're a telepath, it's a soft scan, basically. So while you're hypnotizing somebody, you can put in the information, be calm, relax, be calm, relax. You don't have to say it verbally. And it works much better, and the person becomes much calmer, and you can really get into their head much deeper. And see what you can find. Hypnosis is a good tool to be used. It's also a tool that can be abused, like anything else. I tell people all the time, if you want to be hypnotized, come see me. I said, because what we're going to do the first time I ever hypnotize you is I'm going to get you to give me a date of an event that happened in your life. And that's all I'm going to ask you. I'm going to say, when I get you on, I'm going to say, please explain to me this event that we talked about earlier. I want you to tell me forward and then backwards. I'm going to turn off all the stress tests, all the cameras and all the voice. I'm going to sit down and go through what we just learned and formulate a line of question that doesn't use words of ET or extraterrestrials or God or demons or UFOs or anything like that. Because I want you to tell me. I don't want to tell you what to say. I want you. And with a soft telepathic scan and good hypnosis, you can easily change people's thoughts. And I don't want to do that. I want the truth. I do all this because I'm interested in why they're here, what they're doing. Because people tell me all the time, well, they're here to save us. I said, if they were here to save us, we'd be saved. I said,
and if they were here to kill us, we'd be dead. So it's like,
we'd be dead. So
it's something else.
They have an agenda, and they don't mind us being part and sharing part of that agenda with them. Mm-hmm. They just don't want us interfering in whatever it is they're doing. So on the downside to this is, of course, if the government finds out, it's a good chance you'll get mill-labbed. If you have knowledge or if you're a good telepath, remember, both the Navy and the Air Force in the year 2000 did away with the remote viewing program and brought in telepathic programs. People are like, well, telepath's not real. I said, then why does the Navy and the Air Force both have a program for telepaths? Mm-hmm. I said, government don't spend all that money on something if it doesn't work. I said, yeah, it might not work the way they want them to, but it does work. But the telekinesis, to answer a question that came in a little while ago, the reason we don't have it is because we'll abuse it. Because think of it like this: if Donald Trump would have had somebody that had telekinesis, Nancy Reagan would be. I mean, not Nancy Reagan. Nancy Pelosi would be dead for sure. Half the Democrats would be dead. Putin would have been dead. Xi Jinping would have been. Oh, look, they both had aneurysms. How weird. How did that happen? Oh, he had a heart attack. Oh, she had a heart attack. Oh, she developed this. I mean, half the Democratic Party would have been dead and half the world leaders would have been dead. I mean, that's why we're not allowed to have that ability yet, because it's going to get abused. And don't get me wrong, there are some people that do possess telekinesis, but not in the state. Like they could slam a door or make something slide across the floor, but they can't go into your head and squeeze that little brain into you.
Right. Everybody's got a life force. And I do believe there's some great cosmic order and plan, like what people call the Akashic records. Like I go in there and find stuff out sometimes, and it's always been accurate. And so I do think like people are supposed to come and go when they are. And obviously people can commit murder and stuff, but I think at a deep way, everyone's energy system does protect itself. It's hard to get in there and actually shift the course of someone's life if you're not like meant to do it. I do trust in some greater order that makes sense, even though it's a very, very long view thing. And it's like generations and generations and millennia for it to balance all the equations.
Somebody asked me about the light beings the other day. I said, well, the light beings don't exactly visit us, not in the way we think they do. It's kind of like, because the way they're designed and the way their bodies or their energy is, they would burn like Charis and I out. They would just burn us out. It would be too much for our bodies to handle because they're not designed to handle that kind of stuff. But they can break a little piece of their self or a little piece of their energy off and put it in us and travel with us anywhere we go and be connected to the whole self. So just like the Greys can track us through thought, they don't need, people always say, why do you use implants? I said, well, they really don't. I said, most of the implants are from the government to track you. So the Greys, reptilians, and humans can track you through your DNA. Which, by the way, our government's working on doing themselves. They can feel. It might even be deep in that. It might be your soul, your essence, whatever it is. They can tell.
Your energy signature is how I think about it.
There's very few places on the planet that I know. There's one in Georgia or Alabama where you can block them out, and maybe one or two on the other side of the planet. But there's not many places like that. And even when you do block them, that's when the shit starts. Because they're like, okay, you've been gone for a day.
Why
and
are you so quiet?
All of a sudden you're back, and they're like, oh, we got to go see what just went on. You're getting abducted, people. Yeah, that's what's happening. You're getting abducted. So they want where you been, what you been up to.
I will say a lot of time when I go, because I like to go camping in the national parks and stuff a lot. Great. And I have to, I go off grid for a while, or when I go on my long trips or whatever. The question is, I was just out there for 3 days. I have a memory of what I did for those 3 days, that is, I just, hung out and read books and whatever. But at this point, it's interesting because when we decided we were going to have this call, I was like, okay, let's see what has been going on with the space homies lately. Well, Sirius has been large and in charge this whole year. Sirius has been like huge in my experience, all over the place. But other thave that, I feel like as I was touching back in for the past couple of years, it's not that I don't have experience with them, I do, but nothing has really like shattered my brain. I mean, I do have a story for you in a second, but and what they keep telling me is, no, Charis, you're ground crew. Like your ground crew right now, you're supposed to focus there for real. Like the point isn't to jump out all the time. Know where you're from, know what you are, but also know the job. And for me, the job is to like affect the energies on Earth. So I pop up when I want, and I'll call them in and they'll be like, yes. And they'll talk to me and they're around, they pop in. But I think it's important for us to align with where we're at, because also, the Earth has a consciousness. And what I've realized is she likes us, like we can interact with her in such a way. What are you going to say?
I tell the people all the time, I said, if she didn't like us, she would have already evicted us.
Yes.
I said, don't forget, people, there's already been 5 great extinctions. Apparently when Miss Mother gets tired, off you go, you bunch of fleas, y'all better behave yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And we might all came from Mars at one time, but Mars is no longer inhabitable for us. So either be nice to Mother Nature or find yourself living somewhere else. And last I checked in our solar system, there's not many places to go.
No.
Kara, you mean off-world? You mean, well, if you've, how can I say this nicely? If you've reached a certain plateau, you will be invited to go off-world from time to time. Now, like in Charis' case, eventually she'll be pulled off of this planet for good and put wherever she's going to be useful. But right now, Her job is here, just like several other people, communicators and keepers are here. They're here to help people understand, that people help that there's other ways to get involved with this. And it's better for me that people like her around because I can be kind of Stalin like sometimes.
It's
So
good. You're a good guardian, Joe. You got to be
well, yeah,
serious
yeah.
to do that, you know?
So but people like Charis makes it easier. I mean, like Lee and I was having this conversation earlier today. It's she's more relaxed than I am. She's way more laid back, so it's easier for people to feel more comfortable with her. And I'm usually so incredibly stupid busy anymore that I'm very short these days with people. So I don't want to be, but as I tell people, go through the how did I say it? Go through my messages to get to me. And what I mean by that is there's lots of people that either work with the organization or that are close friends of mine. So if you're trying to get hold to me, it's best to find someone who knows me first and tell them what's going on, because then what they're going to do is they'll work with you, and then they'll say, okay, well, yeah, maybe you need to see Joe or whoever, and they'll put you with whoever that needs to be, because sometimes you need to know how to focus and understand stuff, and then sometimes you need to find the light side of this. And Charis is really good at doing that, and you just need to do it sometimes. I know people get mad at me when I bring New Age stuff into this, and it's not exactly New Age, by the way. Because let's be honest, the stuff we're talking about right now dates as long as man has been around, so I can't really call it New Age. Maybe we should call it Old Age on the return.
Ancient
New Age is
and
not really
future.
a good. It's like the pagans. A lot of my friends who practice witchcraft and all, they're like, well, that's New Age. No, that's not New Age. That comes from the Druids, which are 5,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago. You can't call that New Age. You have to call that maybe Old Age. The New Age would be modern religion. So we'd say from Christ forward, that would be the New Age. So I don't get mad at me, religious people. I'm not trying to make anybody mad. But in reality of our existence, that would be considered the New Age. That was the start of the New Age. What we're talking about is stuff that predates all of that, stuff that can feed you energy, bring things to you. Just be careful. It's like anything in life. Be careful what you ask for, because you never know what's going to pop up or show up. And again, like Charles was telling you earlier, if you've got a reptilian that's being a pest, you have to be forceful.
Dominant and force. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what works over there. You just got to speak the language. It's like, and that's part of being a difference between like empowered and a victim, a difference between, I mean, I've devoted my life to walking in the other realms, and I have definitely made sacrifices to do it. Like, you don't choose. Like, I always say we don't choose the like mystical life. The mystical life chooses us, right?
that's
And
true.
then you can choose to either like hone your gifts and figure out how to make it work, or not. And there's certain things in life that makes that easier or harder, like the people around you and stuff. But when it comes down to it, I think it's important to remember, regardless of what you're looking at, do you choose to take up space in a way that is helpful to yourself and others, or not? And are you choosing, because I do believe in the power of free will, right? There are gems of truth in all these ancient texts, and you can look at it from a religious way, or the way I like to think about things like this is spirit technology. Like, if you even look at the pyramids, fire in the middle, that's what pyramid means. The whole king's chamber, queen's chamber, they went there to get renewed. Like, there's all this science that you can point to that are consensus science is just starting to accept. But that was spirit science. It was using the energetics of spirit or energy tech, right? And that's how I think about things. I'm like, if it works, then do it. And in my experience, things like spirituality, Reiki, working with the chakras, astral traveling, remote viewing, working through the different dimensions, working with the ETs and the dragons and whoever else, is what has worked for me. But that's what I'm here to do. So I can't say that that's what everyone's supposed to do. But I do think if you're getting dumped into a dimension or a timeline or wherever, another like layer where you're interacting with other beings, like it or not, figure out how to get your feet under you, find people who empower you, work with people who you like the vibe of and who you feel like you can trust. And then, why not, right? You're going to be there anyway. You might
Trust
as
is
well like
important.
enjoy your life.
Yeah, trust is
Yeah.
important. It's one of the reasons we have so many different people that we know. And yeah, Philip, that's true. I said that actually. I was saying that to a friend of mine earlier today. If you meet me, somebody sent you. It's the only way I can say it. I don't meet people randomly. Even in my work life, people come to me for certain reasons. And when I was young, I was way more easy to get hold to. These days, it takes a lot more effort. So if for some reason you find yourself talking to me, that's something put you there, sent you there, or and to be honest, I keep in touch with my friends and we go back and forth because we're all working in different areas. That's like with Charis, I'll see her from time to time. That's why she's here tonight, because I caught one of her lessons the other day. I said, "Oh, you know, you talked to her. Well, I need to call her and see."
Yeah, it's
And
like been years, and it was the same,
it's,
because
yeah,
I
it's just
saw you
how
on
it
a
is.
ship last month. Whatever, it's fine.
And that's probably what happened. If I seen you, boy, hey, we got to talk.
Oh yeah, we gotta do a show.
We've been on the wrong side. We're on different sides, but I mean different sides of the craft. But
Because yeah,
but let me be blunt about this, ladies and gentlemen. If you try to astral, or if you try to dimensional travel, which is probably a better word for it,
sure.
be careful, because really you can only go so high with a human understanding.
Yeah.
So maybe 5 levels. Maybe if you're really good, you might go 10 levels above. But the point is, if you go too high, or you find yourself in some place where you don't understand what's going on around you, because if let's say, like, if you were with the hierarchy of the grays, the reptilians, and humans, it's going to be, you're not going to be able to understand what's going around, because our brains have not developed to that point yet. They're going to be doing things and stuff that you're going to be like, now what's good about that, the good side about it, is you will absorb that, and when you come back, maybe we'll start to be able to move that in that direction. But it's tough. But sometimes they'll come down to our level to help us learn and teach it. They'll do it on the ships all the time. For some reason, they want to see humans thrive and move, but they only want to see certain humans. Like I said this before, 1.5 billion of us right at this current time. The rest of them, I hate to say it like this, the other 6.5 or 7 billion, they're not so much interested in. Because
it reminds me of the Bible verse about the 144,000, right? It's like there's always like some
12
segment
tribes.
of the population. But again, I'm like, I don't know how physical that is. I'm not sure which realm they're talking about, and I think that the thing that a lot of people get freaked out about and like lose their shit over a little bit is thinking that it's all going to happen in 3D. But I've found that there's been crazy shit that's gone down in other dimensions, and it's crazy, and it has an effect in 3D, but it's not what people think. Like, it's not like it is in the movies usually, in my experience.
I know they talk about the cleansing of the planet from time to time, but what's funny about this is it's not the aliens aren't going to do it. What the aliens did was decided that contactees will have a natural immunity to it. Whatever this is going to happen, when they talk about the Holocaust dreams, the contactees already have a natural immunity, and whoever's related to them and everything tied to them, so they're going to survive this regardless. It's the rest of the planet that you got to worry about, and for the Greys, reptilians, and humans, and some of the primaries, they don't. They look at it a different way. They look at it. Y'all have had a bunch of chances to straighten your asses up. If you're not going to do it, we're not going to be concerned, because remember this: we could wipe the whole planet out. They can re-inhabit the planet in less than 10 years. They can clean up all the radiation, clean up the planet, clean up the ozone, clean up everything, and kind of feel sorry for us. But yeah, well, they were stupid humans, and move on. So that's one of the reasons they, I hate to say, pick their stock. They
Like, pick their teams. It's like
yeah.
fantasy football
So
down here.
we're way back. Like Charles's great grandfather, grandmother was the one that was taken first. And since then, they've been taking her family. Now you can't tell them. I don't want her mom and sister to hit us, because she probably slapped both of us. But still, we know that
Mom
they're.
knows. They just don't talk about it. They're
Yeah, I
like,
know.
whatever,
Yeah.
cares. Okay, I'm not going to say no,
Yeah,
but let's
whatever.
talk about something else.
That's what my mom was. My mom was like, she's like, really? They do it in family lines? I said, yeah, mom. And she looked at me one day like, I said, well, you know how Stephanie and Pamela have these weird, strange dreams? Yeah. I said, I said, that's part of it. She's like, because I asked her one time, have you ever had an alien dream? And she looked at me like I was stupid. I was like, Mom, come on. And she's like, well, yes, once or twice. And I said, Stephanie, she's like, I don't want to go there, brother. Shut up. That's exactly how she told me too.
And some
Well,
people are not into it. That's
yes,
okay.
which is fine. I understand that. And if you want to think I'm crazy, that's fine too.
Yeah.
But I have learned over the years to balance it. It made me crazy in my 20s. It did. With all the other stuff that was going on, it made me crazy. I was drinking, smoking, popping, you named it. I was trying to forget. Actually, I wasn't even trying to forget. I was trying to numb my abilities down. First off, from 12 to 25, I would see 3 people die a year, and then it would happen just the way I see it. It was making me crazy. And then I realized that I could pull in people's other emotions or share my own. And that started making me crazy. Now seeing this, experience this. So I just said, okay, the alcohol and pot or whatever I was taking at the time has to dull this down. Sorry, guys, it makes it worse.
Yep.
It makes it worse. It lowers your guard and it makes it worse.
And
So
also alcohol in particular, for whoever needs to hear this, I don't know who needs to hear this, but alcohol in particular is a big gateway to things possessing you potentially. So just, I'm not saying don't drink, do what you want. Just specifically say only beings that want the best for me and everything I touch are allowed in. That will keep a bunch of bad experiences away from you, especially if you're going under the influence of anything.
yeah, well, I was talking to a friend a couple of years ago who was doing shrooms, and he's like, "Man, I get these weird." I said, "Okay." I said, "It could be real and it could be shroomed induced. Let's talk about it for a while."
Because shrooms are aliens
Yeah,
themselves. So
I
it's
know,
like, they might just be giving you an activation. This might
so,
not be anything outside of you. Yeah.
but yeah, and really, because some drugs can activate the abilities at a higher range, things like acid. But the problem with that is you're still tripping while you're seeing it. So you're trying to incorporate
Yeah.
what you're seeing at the same time you're tripping. If you can sometimes slow your brain down enough to really to take advantage of it. And then sometimes what will happen is when the effects are wearing off, you'll start having this amount of information just dumped into your head. Because while you were doing it, you were actually being able to see things and pick things up. But still, you were still high as a kite, so it kind of makes it hard to balance out. It's no, but I'm.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What drugs? Cocaine doesn't do anything. I'll tell you that now. Y'all just get over
It's
that.
just like, it doesn't help for that.
And
I mean,
guys, if you're a guy, don't ever take cocaine. I'm not going to get into why. Just
Good
you're wasting
advice.
your time, man. Just don't even bother with it.
Anything that burns holes in your body, I'm like,
Yeah, no, not worried about it.
probably
And,
not the best idea.
well, for some reason, women can handle it better than men can.
Yeah.
Guys, don't get
It's
mad
fine.
at me. I'm being honest.
I will say that I didn't
Yes.
experiment with any kind of psychedelics or anything like that until I was in my 30s because I was afraid of that because, my intuition is my bread and butter. I was like, I can't fuck with my brain.
I think she looks like she's like
Thanks.
22 or
Oh,
something.
I'm 38 actually. I'm
Yeah,
a lady. I'm a
no
grown
damn
lady.
way,
I'm a
man.
grown lady.
I'm not believing that even a little bit.
1983.
Oh my God.
So,
I'm feeling like
this
this
year was my
MPS.
20th high school
I
reunion,
know it.
actually.
I know it. No. Oh, Joe, then how many addicts or abductees? Well, if you want me to be
Probably
honest with you,
not.
more than half.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So what happens is like people like us and other people who have been in this a long time, what we will do is when we find people, we'll tell them, look, if you really want to know what's going on in your head, you got to give this up. You got to get away from this. You can't control it when you load it up. I said, you have to be in control of your facilities your faculties to be able to control these abilities. So it takes a while, but you'd be surprised how many of them will go away. And it's not just that. The fact that an alien's taking you is enough to make you want to do drugs anyway.
Yeah, especially if you don't know anywhere to go.
Especially when all your friends are looking at you like, really, dude? Really? You're on crack, aren't you? Yeah, well, a little bit. No. So
yeah, and there was aliens.
yeah, there was aliens. So really, you have to kind of migrate away. And I'm not saying never get drunk or do anything again, but you have to learn the difference. And you have to learn what you're seeing because certain, like alcohol and some drugs, will intensify the effect. So once you understand your abilities, if you want to go play around with it, you can. You just got to be careful because, like Charis just said, other things can get into your ass when your guard's down. So you just got to be careful about it. You don't want to come home with well, God knows what.
Yeah, be intentional.
It's just you got to be careful in this. Bruce and Mac, you can catch her on Instagram, Facebook, now on TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah, Instagram and Facebook. I'm Charis. Instagram Charis Melina. You can look at how my first and middle name is spelled. So I keep sworn there's a flyer in here. On
that's that little gray
TikTok.
going. That's like a
I
gray
know, right?
flyer
I'm like,
around.
where's this
He's
drone
like Adam,
from?
man. He's like,
This
what are
wasn't
you
in here
talking about?
15 minutes
You
ago.
know you're not supposed to be talking about, did you? Oh, man.
I did check in before we started. I'm like, y'all, we good?
It is a shame. I mean, I know a lot of people. I would say at least half of all abductees go through some phase of some addiction, and it could be a lot of different addictions, but they do because when they start, it's hard. Okay, first an abductee. What happens with an abductee? They start the awakening process because either they remembered something, they had a dream, and for some reason it starts bothering them, and then they're like, I got to deal with this, and they don't want to deal with it, but it just keeps reoccurring. So they start to deal with it, and then it becomes overwhelming. Then they start drinking, popping, smoking, doping, whatever, and then you find someone like us, and then we're going to help you get through that and move on from that. How did I quit? Oh no, I just quit drinking. Well, I've been real lucky in life. I have real good control of myself, so I quit drinking, I quit smoking, I gave up cigarettes, gave up pot, but I gave it up without any intervention or anybody helping me. So not everybody can do that. I'm not bragging. It's just hard to do. I got friends right now who want to quit smoking, and they're like, "Joe, you just quit." And I said, well, yeah, I just quit. But I had to, it was will. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm 50 now. I still every now and then want to go, hey, where's a cigarette at? And I ain't smoked in 14 years now. And I still every once in a while, can't give me that damn cigarette. No. So you got to be careful with it. But, but there are people out there that are willing to help. And there's lots of us out there. Just be careful that they're the real thing and not somebody trying to scam you off of money or scam you off of this and scam you off of that. Christopher, I do hypnosis a lot, but okay, how can I say this nicely? I'll schedule a hypnosis session with anybody for $250. But if you can get through one of my people and find me, convince them by telling them what's going on with you, I'll do it for free. Okay, as a matter of fact, I was talking with a friend about that earlier this afternoon. Some people I'm more than willing to do it for free for, and some people know if you're going to want my time, because I make a decent paycheck when I'm working, so whether radio station or thing. So, if I'm going to give up all the time, I want two things out of it. I want to get paid, and I want to know you're real. So if I get like halfway into the hypnosis and I figure you're fake, and I'll just cancel the session, give you your money back, and send you on your way. Because I'm looking for answers like everybody else. Don't get me wrong, I got a lot more answers than most people do. But even for me, it's confusing because sometimes it contradicts itself.
It changes,
stuff
changes over time.
Yeah. So when you look at the grays, not the little 3-footers because they're just a pain in the ass. When you get up to the 7, 8, 9-footers, the more hierarchy, they are more subtle. They have intense abilities that scan your head, and they can leave little bits of information in to guide you along. Which anybody who can dream with you can also do the same thing. So they really want to see us as a race really thrive and make it. They would like to see us join the Galactic Council one day, but that's not going to happen at this current. Well, because like yesterday, when I was listening to Biden, Xi Jinping, and Putin, let's see how many nukes we got. Yeah, well, that's going to get us in the Galactic Council.
Still so much violence. You just got to figure it out,
We're not children anymore. That's what's bugging me.
We are, apparently.
Well,
they act like it.
My sandbox is bigger than your sandbox. It's sad, people. It really is. Because, all right, just a couple of things. We'll go through this real quick because we got like 20 minutes. So there's been times in our universe and in our existence on this planet where we could have achieved great things. So first off, the burning of the Library of Alexander, God knows what we lost.
Still sad about that, yeah.
We've
got the internet now. That's an approximation, I will say.
So we are gaining information, but you don't know what was lost there. And then all the burning of books in libraries during World War II. And then we had the Muslims burning books in libraries just recently. So we haven't learned anything, basically. I mean, it just keeps reoccurring. And it's like, if my children kept doing stupid shit, like I'd pop them beside their head. What the hell is wrong with you? You not learn the first 3 damn times? Come on.
Well, we've got tsunamis and earthquakes and hurricanes and pandemics. So
really, they're trying to tell us something. And some of us are listening and some are not. I'm not saying that you're going to go around preaching this or that thing. There's lots of people out there saying, save this, save that, save this, save the whale, save the dolphin. Let me tell you something about dolphins. I still think dolphins are more intelligent than we are.
Absolutely.
They control 3/4 of the planet. They're not killing each other. They're not blowing each other up.
And, dolphins and whales and octopus are all as intelligent or more intelligent. They're not from here for sure. They're before us. They found fossils of octopus that are basically the same, that are older than just about anything else. So they've been here for a minute. There's a lot we don't know about those guys.
Yeah. Oh, to answer your question, Joseph, there in the chat room, what would make the Greys happy with us? Us just to mature. They don't. It's not like they don't want us to have fun. This is not what this is about. They want us to take control of ourselves and our planet. Yeah. Okay, we understand that there needs to be a fundamental change. And I said this the other day when I was doing a lecture. So people don't realize, but for the last 200 million years, the planet was always kind of wacky. The last 10,000 years is the calmest this planet's ever been, ever. So it was like a gift. Without that calmness, the human race would never evolve to what it is today. So, there was calderas blowing up before that. It was volcanoes all over the place, dinosaurs, asteroids, you name it. Planets getting bombarded by all kinds of crap. So here we are. We've been given a gift by whoever you want to say. You could say it was God. You could say it was ET. You could say it was God. It doesn't matter what, as long as you think it was a gift. But we're not taking advantage of this gift. We're basically crapping on it and saying, some of us aren't. But, I mean, the other 6.5 billion just don't care. And for some
they're
people,
hypnotized, they're hypnotized and drugged. That's what I think, especially in this country.
Watching CNN and NBC and Fox. Oh, I don't know.
Brainwashed.
It's really what it is. And of course, you get, and then, like myself, doing Trump and Hillary's race, I caught myself in a flurry of just being pissed all the
Yeah.
time.
That
And I
was
was like,
intense. Yeah.
and I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? And a couple of my friends, wife, they're all like, what is you? Are you losing it? It was just too much. I mean, it was just too
Hmm.
much. I didn't like either one of them.
Hmm.
I'm like, I cannot believe one of these two idiots are going to be running my country. It's like the last race. I'm like, look. And so I didn't let myself get all caught up in it this time. No, I'm like, no,
Yeah, it's the
not going
same
there.
story. It's the same. I had a friend who moved away for a few years to be a nun in Burma. She was a Burmese nun. She was a young girl. She had gotten in a lot of trouble, her early 20s or whatever. She's like, I'm leaving. And I didn't meet her till after she got back and had lived back in the US for a few good years. But she said the main thing she noticed about leaving for Burma for however many years and then coming back was that she turned on the news and it was the same. Like the names were different, the actual things were different, but it was and then she realized, she's like, oh, like there's no reason in getting upset because it's always the same. And there's always a million things they can be reporting on, but they report on the ones that are going to get you to watch and to worry and to put up your alarm bells. So I think it's important to curate our input and only let in what we trust and what we think is being honest.
And it's so easy to change everything. We just got to start caring. But
Yeah.
everyday people actually do care. But then
Yeah.
they go watch the TV and then they get mad at the Russians, or get mad at the Chinese,
Yeah.
or they get mad at this. So I'm watching TV the other day. I'm watching the Brits send 2 destroyers down to the South China Sea and 1 to the Ukraine. I'm thinking, okay, that's a little bit provocative. I can understand why they did it, but it is a little bit provocative. So of course, China and Russia is going to have to answer because and it just doesn't stop. And eventually somebody's going to get mad. And between the United States and Russia, we have 24,000 nuclear weapons. Do you know what that would do to Earth? I mean, nobody even has a clue. Just to put this in perspective, so Ronald Reagan did this and Donald Trump did this. China was going off the handle. So one afternoon, Ronald Reagan sent 4 nuclear submarines out. They completely surrounded China. China didn't even know they were there. They had 24 Trident missiles on each one carrying 25 warheads. They could have completely obliterated China before they even knew what happened. Well, China got all big and again talking crap, and then so Donald Trump sent 3. And China was enraged, but China never had a chance. I mean, they were there before anybody knew it. They didn't even know. They wouldn't even known they had launched the missiles. The only reason they found out is we called them and told them you are now surrounded by nuclear submarines carrying nuclear weapons. And just recently, we drove a destroyer up into a pack of Chinese ships. They didn't even know it was there. I mean, it's all this is very provocative, and sooner or later, someone's going to get pissed and push the button,
Yeah.
or someone's going to be senile or crazy. And any way it goes, it's not looking good for us.
Yeah.
And people, next election, try voting for somebody under the age of 70. Okay, I'm not hating on old people, and some old people are brilliant. But really, lately, the last 3 choices have not been all got their facilities together. I don't care what anybody says.
And that's indicative of our political system, right? It's like the ones who should be ruling don't even get over there because in order to even get there, you have to already have compromised so many times.
Yes, you do.
Right?
And you
That's how
can't,
the
you
system
can't.
works.
I did an interview with a gentleman just recently from a big company. And I said, you would be a great president. He said, not in a million years.
Not interested. Yeah,
He
like
said, first off, I got to take a big cut in pay. He said, secondly, I don't want that kind of stress. He said,
they age so fast. The
he said,
president, they're like 10 years older in 2 years.
yeah, the only president I've ever seen coming out looking better than he went in was Donald Trump. I don't know how he did it. I guess he dyes his
Interesting.
hair or something,
I don't know. I
But
mean,
I don't
gosh,
think he dye it that color, but still, we're not getting into that. I'm just saying.
that man has an internal frame. He does what he wants.
He's a little strange, but
Mhm.
in all fairness to all presidents, some presidents do get some good stuff. Donald got some good stuff done, but he was just the way he did it was Jesus, stop.
Yeah.
And
It did
maybe
show. The thing I appreciate about that whole experience was how many people came out of their respective closets, and we got to see where the hate lives. I noticed
yeah,
too.
we did.
That
Yeah,
and
we
COVID
did.
both, we get to see what people do when they flip out. Do they start pointing fingers? Do they start attacking each other? Do I start saying, let's work together to fix this? What happens? And I was very grateful because I was like, you know what? I'm glad to see who the enemies are. Like,
Yes,
I
that's
mean,
true.
I'm a person of color, right? My mom's Black. I'm half Black. I have Native American on both sides. That's a whole conversation that nobody's hardly
Yes.
ready to have yet, And I got to see, I'm like, okay, so who's racist? Now that racist people are like able to be like, hey, me too, me too.
And how in the
Now we can
hell
see.
in 2021 do we have any races? I mean, get
Well,
over it,
you're
people.
from Louisiana, and a place that's like proud to be New Orleans. You told me before
See, well,
you've got
that's
that
it.
privilege,
I try to tell all my friends that live up north, oh yeah, the South is racist. No, the South isn't racist. The problem is, people, which I don't understand, and I'll tell you why the South isn't, because the population is in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida are 50-50. So we've had to learn to live with each other. If everybody was racist, these 4 states would have collapsed already. The majority of black people live in those 4 states. And the reason why is because we're not trying to kill each other. Down here, you got black mayors, black politicians, black sheriffs. Nobody cares. I don't care. I don't care what. All I care is you're doing your damn job, and that's just it's just how it is. And the only violence down here is not white on black or black on white. It's black on black and white on white. We've learned we got to be friends. But
I think also in the contactee world, like they say in Star Trek, that was the first on-screen interracial kiss in TV. And it's funny, like my mom was.
Baby. I had the hots for her.
Everybody did, right? My mom, she's always loved Star Trek. I'm like, Mom, why do you think? It reminds you of home. That's why. But the interesting thing there is I find that when you're used to people having green skin and blue skin and feathers and horns, you don't care that our browns are a little bit different. Like we got all the same number of arms and legs and eyes and ears. And I was raised in Southern Virginia on the border of Virginia, North Carolina on Highway 95, population 5,000. It was racist as fuck. It was super racist. I was raised in a racist schism. It's a plantation community, right? And so I'm going to say it exists, but not everybody. And it's like a mind virus. People who have it, have it. People who don't have it, don't have it. I was raised around people who would give the shirt off their back to somebody of the same race, of another race they would hit with a bat, it's a mind virus. And so it does exist, but it's something that we're teasing out more and more and more. And the nice thing is usually no one wants to be, and it's a hidden thing. So when someone realizes that they are, then if they're a good person, they'll try to comb it out. And I think that's one of the great things about all the stuff that happened last year is, in my experience, a place where racism has lived. Mostly the places where I've seen racism is in like dating and relationships, like especially growing up in the South. Boys, I had moms call me and say, no, you cannot date my son because you are half black and I don't want mixed grandbabies. When I was a 15-year-old virgin, I was like, no.
My son is dating, we'll just say a woman of color because she's Norwegian. Anyway, something else. They went traveling up north, where she's from, and they found out that people are very racist. So they traveled all across the South, all up the coast. Nobody gave them any trouble. It's just like every other thing down here. And then they went up north, and they could not believe, because north is not supposed to be racist.
It's just different flavor. People like that are everywhere.
It's just and he said, I can't get over how many people stared at us and looked at us. I said, because up there, because what happens up north is the colored populations are way smaller than they are up here. Like a good friend of mine lives in Oregon, and I always give her trouble about this. She's African. I mean, she's like black as my thing on my screen. I give her trouble all the time. I said, she got mad at me when I said, girl, if you don't open your eyes, I ain't going to know where you are at night. Jesus. And she goes, Joe, you know that's racist? No, I wasn't racist. That was the truth, girl. I was
just messing with you.
But it's funny for her because, one, she lives in a city that has like 5 black people in it. I told her, I said, what, do you feel like a candle now standing out in the crowd? She said, yes. She said, and I was surprised how many people in Seattle or in Portland are racist. I said, because they talk a good talk, but because there's nobody there.
Right.
I said, that's why. I said, but she said, I was stunned.
Any kind of prejudice, I had a friend who was from Montreal, and he told me how people in Montreal get mad at each other about if they speak French or English, the way people here get mad about the color of your skin. It's this thing in our minds. And that's why anywhere you go, some people have it, some people don't. You can have larger, smaller populations. I'm privileged because people can't tell what I am. And so a lot of times they are just like, oh, you're just something else, but we don't know what. So a lot of it doesn't come my way. But growing up, everyone knew what I was. So I got to see who was what. And I just think it's one of those things, like once I realize someone has certain prejudices like that, I'm like, oh, honestly, I have a prejudice against that. I'm like, oh, you must have a low IQ. You must be kind of like dumb, because if you can separate people like that in your mind, then there's something that's not quite right in there.
Oh, yeah, you're true too, because people get mad at me. I was doing a lecture in DC just before COVID, and somebody brought something about race, and I said, look, if you've got to use the word black or white, you're a racist. Get over it. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, if you have to tell me someone's black or someone's white, you're a racist. If you cannot just explain to me about the individual, then
why did you tell me that thing? You're the one.
I don't need to know if they're black or white. I just wanted to know the story. I say, because like when we talk with contactees, if we go in America, it's about 18% of our contactees are black, and probably about 30% are Hispanic, and the rest are white or mixed or something. But when it changes when you go further south. And the other thing that's funny is when you were talking about Canada, The Acadians and the Cajuns speak the same French, but they don't speak real
Interesting.
French. Yeah, because they're related to each other.
Mhm.
So they speak this. I don't even want to call it what it is. What do you mean? Oh, Creole. No, Creole is black and French. That's what Creole is. Oh, Creole women are usually stunning. Don't ask me why. I have no why. Don't. I have no clue why.
But
But
they
when
ask.
they just he just asked me about it. But that is
Oh.
true. That's what Creole is. That's usually a
Mhm.
French person and someone of color. And then they usually, they have, I don't know why they have gorgeous babies. Don't make it. But you know what I learned a long time ago? Ugly parents always have good looking children. Well,
That's
it's not true for
funny.
cats because her mom's pretty good looking, but still,
Oh, thank you, thank you.
it's
Well, I mean, pretty as breed does, right? I mean, I think and it's funny because the thing about racism right now, where we are in human, like, you've got the race thing, you've got the pronouns thing. I hope we eventually figure out this native thing. We've got now the Asian thing, where everything's coming up, and we're at a point where all the wounds are like, ouch, ouch, here, here, here. So we got to be like, okay, careful. I'll call. What do you want to be called? He, she, they. No pronoun. Okay, let me do it so that you can heal, because it's all really sensitive right now. And I think that it's going to settle back down, and we're going to because also you've got so many people living in a lot of pain because of things that have happened down the line. And so we're still fixing all of it. We're still like putting it back together. And I just think it's important for all of us to do our part from where we're sitting, and just like try to make everybody happy if it doesn't hurt you. If somebody wants you to call them he, she, they, call them he, she, they. If someone wants you to like not use certain words because you're healing
whatever you want to
ancestral
call me.
trauma, do it.
I don't care. I tell them all the time. You call me whatever you want. But,
Yeah.
it's funny. I was on my way to Utah to give a lecture, and I had a friend with me, and we had stopped at this shell station on an Indian reservation, and these two guys were just screwing with this girl nonstop. And I was sitting there filling a car. And I'm thinking, y'all need to leave her alone. You need to leave her alone. Just you could tell she's Native American, good looking girl. And these two guys, it was they were just going on and on and on. So when I walked to go in the store, I walked in between them, and the guy went to tell me something. I said, "Did you actually say something to me?" And he said, "You shouldn't have gotten away." I said, "Dude, don't tell me that again." So I'm gonna tell you what. If I come out the store and you're still harassing this guy, I'm gonna send you to the hospital. I said, "You ain't screwing with me like that. I'm twice your size. You need to go on with your little run ass and get away from me." And he went to go hit me, and I just bitch slapped him. And his friend I did a backhand him just like he's a little bitch. I just slapped him on the ground. And the girl's like, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." And I said, "Just so y'all know, I'm Native American too, and I don't appreciate how you were treating her." And you're a white man. I said, "No, I'm part Native American." I said, "I did not appreciate how you were treating her." I said, "I'm going to tell you what, y'all need to leave before I do, or I'm going to call the cops and have you taken out of here."
Nice.
And they got all over. And then this guy comes over from me, Native American guy, big old boy too. He said, "I just want to tell you thank you." He gave me this card, says you can come through our reservation anytime you want on the roads that, he said white people ain't allowed to go on. He said you can travel in all these places. He said, "You're welcome in our tribe at any time."
Nice.
Because he was watching the whole thing, and I was like, but he was too old to go get in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
I was just pissed, man. Well, it happened in New Jersey. Had this young black lady was waiting on, was a really sweet girl. She's working her ass off, and some guy just slapped her in the ass as she went by. And I looked over at him, and it was a big party. I got up and I walked over behind her. I said, "Walk by him again." And she did. And he went to slap her. I grabbed his stomach, bent it back. I said, "Get out your chair, boy." I said, "Get your ass out the chair. I want to explain to you how you're being rude." And then the owner came out, and he started telling me something. I said, "Dude, why do you put up with this kind of behavior?" And I said, "You need to get this woman a raise because she's busting her ass, and you need to kick these people out of your restaurant." I said, "Because this is freaking ridiculous." And he said, "Well, you don't understand. You're not from here." I said, "I'm from the South. I understand quite clearly. These got racist pigs, and they don't need to be in here." And the other guy, I don't know, he's getting ready to reach. It looked like I think he's reaching down. He's either going for a knife or a gun. I just stuck my foot on his chair and flipped his ass over. And I said, "Let me explain this to both of you." I said, "I'm Special Forces trained. I'm only going to warn you one time." I said, "Don't ever reach for anything around me again, because the next time you're not going to get up. I promise you that." And then this girl comes up and hugs me, tells you thank you. I said, "Well, I hope I didn't get you fired." She said, No, he understands. He understands.
Nice.
And then the guy sends out this massive steak to me. I couldn't even eat the whole thing. I was like,
nice. See, I wish more people would stand up when they see something wrong happening like that. I still think
that's the problem. They need to. They need to stop thinking
especially if it's your people doing the thing. Like if it's your people who's like, or presenting as your people, Yeah,
we would call these down here big fat rednecks is what we would call them down here.
Yeah.
And I said, that was enough of that. We're not going to have that anymore. But, I've been in conferences on several times when people have done things. And, and I have a protective. And
I miss conferences.
Yeah, I do too, actually. Like all my friends and all the members out there, they're very protective of me, but I'm very protective of them. But I'm just very protective of Joe.
Yeah.
I don't like to see people shitting on other people. I just don't.
Yeah.
But I know we got to go because we got Outer Realm coming up next with Michelle Piazza. Oh wait, I got the names wrong. Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Percent. I was switching y'all's last names, ladies. Sorry. But they do a great show, by the way. I'm gonna have to get you on in the future, but they stay booked out like 6 months. They got a great show, but y'all be sure to tune in. That remember, people, vote, 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 vote. Podcast Awards. It's People's Choice actually. Podcast Awards. Get over there and vote for us. I mean, come on, we got 5 shows up for People's Choice Awards. Be sure to go vote. I'm telling y'all, if I don't win, I'm gonna be whiny, bitchy, moany for the whole next year. I'll be like, oh my God, y'all didn't vote for me. I'm not talking. I'm going to do no subject y'all want to hear if I don't win. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Actually, I don't really expect to win this year, but if we do, it'll be great. If we don't, we got several awards in the last 2 years. It's great. Yes, Leah, y'all are close to age. Yes, actually, y'all got a couple of things in common. Charis has learned how to balance herself out real well. It'd be good for you to talk to her. Actually, she's very well balanced. And don't get me wrong, she's had to deal with crap in her life. We've talked about this in the past. It's not
it's not that I can't
everything.
fight.
It's not like she's just been babied her whole life. That's not true. But y'all should get together and talk to her. Be sure to go over and look for her. I don't know if she charges or not. I couldn't even tell y'all.
I do sessions. I do private sessions. Go on my website, charismelina.com. My Insta is at Charis Melina, and my TikTok is Grace of Earth, and that's very new. So there's only a few things over there, but that's me.
Get over there and visit. Joe's nice seeing you. Leah, nice seeing you. I see everybody who's turned in the chat rooms. Nice seeing you all night. We got to go because I know Michelle's going to be cussing me in about 2 seconds.
Thank you,
Joe. You never end on time. Well, you never end on time.
It will be good.
Don't get me wrong. I love it both to death, but on that note, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next week. And click.